Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a really fascinating proposal from a strategist named Yanni Greenbaum. He basically argues that the entire local news industry has its economics completely upside down. It's called the Sebastopol Protocol, and, it just might be the blueprint to fix a system that almost everyone agrees is broken.
Okay, so let's get right into it because this slide is really the core of the whole puzzle. You've got this tiny, hyper-local outlet, the Sebastopol Times, and it's converting readers into paying members at almost 25%. Now compare that to a big city paper where the industry standard is a pretty sad 3%.
I mean, that's not just a little bit better. That's a whole different ballgame.
We're talking 160 times more effective.
So why the huge difference? Well, this is the big insight. Greenbaum says we've been selling the wrong thing all along. People aren't really paying for news like it's some kind of commodity. What they're actually buying into is a way to feel more connected to their town, to participate in the civic life of the place they actually call home.
And that means this isn't about some fluke, one lucky paper out in California. Nope. This is about a fundamental economic shift. The protocol argues that the secret to sustainability isn't chasing millions of clicks. It's all about what he calls extreme proximity. It's about serving a small, well-defined community so incredibly well that they start to see you as absolutely essential.
Now, according to Greenbaum, the crisis we see in local news isn't actually a failure of journalism. The reporters, they're doing the work. The real problem, as he puts it, is bad plumbing. The whole back end, the business model, the admin, the tech, all of it is just completely broken.
And this right here is what happens when you have bad plumbing. We end up treating this essential civic utility like it's some kind of hobby. We're relying on the passion of journalists who are almost always overworked, underpaid, and just totally burning out trying to do everything themselves. It just can't last.
Big media companies are stuck in what Greenbaum calls the volume trap. It's this idea that you need a massive audience just to stay afloat. But here's the irony. Chasing that huge scale is exactly what leads to those terrible 3% conversion rates. The only way to escape the trap is to go hyper-local.
Okay, so let's shift gears and talk about the solution. This isn't just a theory. It's a detailed, formal blueprint called the Sebastopol Protocol, and it comes with an 18-month pilot program designed to prove once and for all that a different way is possible.
The testing ground for all this is a cluster of 3 communities right outside of Philadelphia. They were picked very carefully. Why? Because they're all distinct neighborhoods. They have their own identities, but they also share things like municipal services. Their fates are linked. And this cluster idea is really key to the whole thing.
Greenbaum has a great name for places like this: high-intent civic islands. These are towns where people are already deeply invested in what's going on. And by picking a cluster that's diverse, both racially and economically, the pilot wants to prove this isn't just a model for rich suburbs. It's about community investment, full stop.
So how does this actually work day to day? Well, the core idea is something called the coordination shield. Just think of it as a professional support system for the back end, and its entire job is to let journalists be journalists without having to worry about the business stuff.
And here is the magic number. The protocol calls for a one-time investment of $330,000. And listen, this is not an endless grant. It's what they call a bridge. It's seed funding specifically designed to get a cluster of these newsrooms to total self-sustainability in just 12 months.
And when you look at where that money goes, it tells you everything. The single biggest chunk, $210,000, goes directly to salaries for 3 town reporters. And we're talking about real, professional, $70,000 a year salaries with full benefits. This is the whole point, to finally end the hobbyist era of local news.
So this coordination layer is absolutely crucial. It acts as a protective shield. It's a central hub that handles all the annoying stuff, the legal, the administrative, the operational headaches, so reporters are freed up to put 100% of their focus on reporting.
Now, the engine that makes this shield work is something called a professional employer organization, or a PEO. This is what provides things like institutional-grade health insurance and payroll. It's the mechanism that turns what was a precarious freelance gig into a stable, professional career.
And baked right into the DNA of this model is something they call Humane Architecture. This is so important. It means reporters get autonomy, sure, but it also means mandatory disconnection. No more 24/7 burnout. Time off is actually time off. It's about building a sustainable work culture from day one.
All of this is building toward a much bigger goal. The vision here is way bigger than just saving a few local newsrooms. It's about creating an entirely new kind of institution for our communities.
This slide just lays out the whole paradigm shift perfectly. We're moving away from a precarious experiment that feels like it's always about to collapse and toward a permanent public asset that's professionally run, community-owned, and pays for itself. It replaces that freelancer burnout with humane design.
And really, this is the ultimate payoff. The whole point is to create a playbook that can be copied so any community can build its own system. It's about making sure our towns are informed by intentional, careful design, not just by luck or the heroic efforts of a few people on the verge of burning out.
So the Sebastopol Protocol offers this incredibly detailed, actionable plan. It challenges pretty much every assumption the news industry has about scale and sustainability. And it leaves us with this really critical question. Could this carefully designed, one-time investment be the key to finally rebuilding local news as the public utility it was always meant to be?